everyone, welcome back to the Life Can't Wait podcast. I'm your host, Ashlee Patterson.
And I'm your other host, Melissa Bell. And today we wanted to talk about energetically aligning your groups, your friends, your relationships, and kind of what that all means and what the importance of that is.
Yes. So I think the first thing we should talk about is what that means to us. So I'm going to describe what it means and then Melissa can. To me, I think for a long time, you're just living life, and then you get to a point in your life where you're deciding that, the path in which you're moving in, you need to make sure that everyone that's in that path with you, it makes sense. So to me, an energetic friendship is just making sure that you don't have to be the same person. We don't have to believe in the exact same things and think totally alike, but are more core values the same? Or can we really connect on more than just one level where it's like, okay, this is the person I go out to eat with. This is the person I can do this. Is this somebody I can have multiple conversations with? Can I be myself around them? Can I be comfortable? So that's what it means to me.
Girl, that was good. That was good. You covered it. But, I would say for me, it means obviously very similar to what she said, but it really is just having like-mindedness on kind of all your different dynamics in life, because we could have the similar core values and, similar hobbies, and just in general, like, how does this person move? Are you similar? Are you loyal? Are you know what I mean? Yeah. That kind of, those personality traits, I think, are very important, especially throughout your phases in life. They change so much as you get older and, like, you have family or you're in relationships. You want to make sure you're around those kind of people. So I would say for me, it's just making sure your group is very like-mindedness, and I think that kind of sums it up.
Yes. And I love that you said like loyalty and stuff like that, because I think that's so important. It's not necessarily the loyalty factor. I think most people would say, I want to be around people that are loyal, but okay, am I someone that's punctual and do you know what I mean? You want to be around people to where it's like you respect them in the way that you want to be respected.
There you go.
So when you said that, it really clicked for me. I'm like, yeah, that is a great way to explain it, because for me it's like, if I know that I'm going to treat you a certain way and do certain things and I'm not getting that reciprocated, it is draining, and I think that's where the energetically
comes into play.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, what's happening in your energy? What is it taking up?
Right. And I think also you can take this topic and kind of relate it to so many things in a friendship. Like, for example, like, how much effort is this person putting into the friendship? And that doesn't mean like, oh girl, you gotta call me all the time or every day, but it is kind of like, hey, are you checking in on me? Is she checking in on me? Like, you know what I mean? It has to be a well-balanced situation, or else it can become one-sided. Also, I think for me and Ash, it's always been kind of like, I know she has goals and she knows I have goals. So it's like, we're not just checking in to be like, oh girl, how was your week? And like, what's the tea? We're checking in to be like, hey, what did you accomplish this week? You know what I mean? And like, are you on target? Or, like, do you have an event coming up this week? Like, all my boot camps for my fitness, she always comes to them every single time she can, which I greatly appreciate. So that's kind of like a good sign for me in terms of a friendship. It's like, she's actually involved. There you go. With my goals in my life. It's not just kind of like, someone that you're talking to casually.
Right. Yeah, and I do think that's an important part, because people will say, oh, it's my friend, but it's like, when I'm doing things that are important to me, are you there with me? Are you supporting me? Because sometimes, okay, we talked about in the beginning that we live kind of far from each other. So yeah, every single time I cannot come there, but it's like, am I referring people to you? Like, if someone comes up and says, hey, I got this going on, am I referring? And I love that we actually had a conversation yesterday about checking in and stuff like that. And I think that's something that's so important, because sometimes I will say with me, I feel like, okay, am I checking in with this person? Am I doing enough? And one thing I appreciated was that, you always check in with me and say, hey girl, how's your week? And I was like, okay, let me make sure that it's not always her checking in with me. And she was like, no, it's totally cool.
Right, like we legit had this conversation yesterday over text and like audio messages, and she was like kind of worried, like, you good girl? Because like, you checked in with me and I haven't really checked in with you. But I made it very clear, like, girl, that time I needed you, you were there, you had my back. We check in, you know, we send each other inspirational things or just messages like, hey, how was your day? What's up? So I definitely feel like we are totally equal, and we give and we take. And I think that's, for us, we are so energetically aligned.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I think too, like, when you know people have goals, because what I realize is the friendships that I have that are like friends that I've had for a long time, we don't have to talk every single day, because we all have separate lives. Some of my friends are on a whole different time zone, you know what I mean? So it's like, for me, this week was like so busy, and I just, and I mean, Thursday hit, and I was like, today's Thursday.
Right, I was like, wait a minute, we doing this?
And she's texting me, and she's like, blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, shoot, tomorrow's Friday, you know? So let's talk about when we didn't feel like our relationships, our friendships were not aligned, and what was more that moment that has shifted where you felt like, you know, I need to make some changes. Not necessarily, oh, I got to cut people off, but you need to take a step back or whatever.
Girl. Okay, I'll pick one moment. I have a few, but I'll pick a moment. I would say about 3 years ago for me, you know, I had a lot of friends from back in the day. I've been friends with these people for, you know, 15 plus years. And although those are all great relationships, like, and friendships, you know, I got to a phase in my life where I'm like, okay, I really want to take my business to another place. I don't really drink. So it was kind of an interesting thing to be around people where, you know, that's all they wanted to do on the weekend, and to each their own. But for me, it just didn't really match the vibe anymore. So although I'm still on good terms with them, it was kind of just like, okay, I gotta take myself out. You know what I mean? And I kind of have to, like, especially I've moved away from the town where all these people are. Now I have to, like, start brand new. Right. So, like, I'm out in South Orange County, and I moved there. I didn't know anyone there, so I really just started over. Yeah. So it's been really a fun journey, kind of like just legit meeting people at coffee shops. One of my best friends out there right now, I met her in the bathroom at the gym.
Oh, you told me that.
Nelly.
Yeah.
Okay, homegirl.
Shout out to you, girl.
Right? So I think it's just important in general to, you know, find your crowd, because you do go through many phases, and sometimes those people go with you and sometimes they don't. Yeah. And that's okay. And I think that's the point that people kind of get mixed up with, is that they think they have to take everyone from day one all the way through, and sometimes it don't work like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and I think for me, what I realize is that you don't have to have the same relationship in the same capacity with people. So a lot of people in my life, I'm still cool with them, you know what I mean? But it's like, we don't have the same relationship where, oh my God, we used to talk every day. And one of the biggest things is, like you said, when your interests change and your day-to-day changes, that's a big, you know, change, because it's like, what are the conversations like? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if all you want to do is go out and this and that, it's like, okay,
girl, I gotta get to bed.
How many more, you know? And you know, I love what you said about you moving, because that was a big shift for me. Moving from a whole nother state, that's a whole nother speed, literally, from Cleveland to LA. I mean, it's not like a farm town in Cleveland, but, you know, it's not the same. And people are very different. I'm just gonna leave it there. But you know, I had to start over, and I met so many people. And one thing I will say is, I feel like God moved whoever didn't need to be in there so fast. And I'll be transparent. Like, for a long time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like not making friends, and it's like, oh, it's so lonely. Like, you know what I mean? And the scary thing for me is, like, I like being at home. I like being by myself. So it's like, okay, I have to force myself. But what I will say is, like, when the time was right, I started meeting, you know, a lot of different people and things like that. So, yeah.
Dang, girl. I know, you, like, really moved, like, kind of far. I mean, for me, that's far, because I'm from LA, and I'm like, I moved, like, 60 miles, and I'm like, girl, I don't know where anything is. You have to learn everything.
I know, and it's like my new normal. And people are like, oh my God, you did that. And, like, to me, it's like, I don't know. There was no other way. Like, I was 13 years old, and I knew I wasn't going to live in Cleveland at 13, so.
Well, fair enough. Okay, so now I want to know, like, what's been the difference? So from having maybe friends that weren't aligning with you at that time, now gaining friends that do align with you, like, what's the difference for you? Or what do you feel?
So I feel like I say things in a very philosophical way, so I'm just going to say it like that. I feel like, okay, let me just say it in a very vulnerable way. You feel seen by people. It's like you have conversations and you're like, okay, you get it. Like, I don't have to even over-explain it. So for me, it's so easy to just be comfortable. It's like I'm closing my eyes because I'm really trying to think about what it feels like. It's like to be comfortable and be myself and just, you know, move how I want to move and know that, like, no matter what, like, there's no judgment. So I think that has been the biggest change for me. Not having to, like, not necessarily put on a facade, but act a certain way because, okay, this is how we usually act and blah, 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 you know. And like I said, you meet a lot of people and it doesn't work out. And I think it's hard sometimes when it doesn't work out because you're like, oh,
like, dang, I just wasted this energy. Shit. Yeah.
But I think the older you get, you just realize, like, okay, you don't have to, we're not in kindergarten and everybody doesn't have to be friends.
Like, we're good. And you're, like, peaceful about it. And I think that's a good word to use, right? Peaceful. You're like, okay, cool. It didn't work, but we good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to plug somebody in here. Do you know The Feminine Fancy on YouTube? Have you ever
heard of? But I don't. I know. I'm not that big on the YouTube, girl.
Like, over the pandemic, I got obsessed with YouTube. But anyway, she posted a video recently that I really loved. And she was talking about how as you get older, you feel like you're supposed to have a bunch of friends. And she was going into why you don't have a bunch of friends. So if anybody wants to check her out, this is a free plug to her. I really do enjoy her. So I did want to, like, bring her up. But listening to that video, it made so much sense because she was basically saying, you know, when you're young, everybody's friends, and you know what I mean, because you're all in the same boat. But once you find yourself, then it's a select few, and everyone's living their own life, like we said before. And so that video kind of, like, spoke to me because it was like, you know what? Yeah, you don't have a lot of friends because the quality is very different. You know? So.
Okay. And what was her name or her user tag?
What is her real name? Felicia. Ooh. I don't know her last name.
You know about that.
But her YouTube is The Feminine Fancy, and she's getting married. She got engaged, so I love her. So I'm just giving her a free shout.
So we'll have to like tag her below or something like that. Because that's
yes, watch her videos. I really like her insight on stuff and all of that. And I've been a subscriber for a while, so yes,
love it.
So, well, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this podcast with us, or this video, whatever you want to say. We really enjoy speaking and letting you guys know our thoughts on things. And please comment, let us know what you think. Let us know when this time happened for you. And please, if you have any suggestions on things that we should talk about,
comment below.
Please let us know. Anything you want to talk about, you know what I mean? Any thoughts. So
until next time, right?
Yes. Follow us on Life Can't Wait Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all of the podcast channels. So we will see you next time. Until then, toodaloo.
Bye.